Title suggestion: the day the Cold War turned nuclear, the war that could have ended civilization. For nearly half a century, the world lived in the shadow of annihilation. Two superpowers, the United States and the Soviet Union, possessed weapons powerful enough to destroy human civilization many times over. Each side built thousands of nuclear warheads, intercontinental missiles, and fleets of strategic bombers. This tense standoff became known as the Cold War. But what if the Cold War had suddenly turned hot? What if a misunderstanding, a technical malfunction, or a desperate political decision had triggered the ultimate war? To understand what might have happened, we must imagine the most dangerous moment in modern history, when the world came within minutes of nuclear destruction. The year is 1962. Chapter 1. The most dangerous week in history. In October 1962, American spy planes discovered something alarming. The Soviet Union had secretly deployed nuclear missiles to Cuba. These missiles could strike most American cities within minutes. The discovery triggered the terrifying crisis known as the Cuban Missile Crisis. The President of the United States, John F. Kennedy, ordered a naval blockade of Cuba. Across the ocean, Soviet leader Nikita Khrushchev refused to back down. For 13 days, the world held its breath. But in our alternate history, something goes terribly wrong. Chapter 2. The mistake that starts World War III, October 27, 1962. A tense Soviet submarine patrols the waters near Cuba. American destroyers begin dropping small depth charges meant only as warning signals. Inside the submarine, the crew believes war has already begun. The submarine carries a nuclear torpedo. In real history, one officer, Vasily Arkhipov, refused to authorize its launch. But imagine if that decision had been different. The nuclear torpedo explodes near an American warship. Within seconds, the Cold War becomes the hottest war in human history. Chapter 3. Nuclear retaliation radar systems across the United States detect the explosion. Military commanders fear a Soviet attack is underway. President Kennedy is rushed into the nuclear command bunker. Within minutes, the United States launches a massive retaliatory strike. Hundreds of missiles rise from underground silos across America. Strategic bombers armed with nuclear weapons head towards Soviet territory. Targets include major Soviet cities: Moscow, Leningrad, Kiev. Across the globe, warning alarms scream. The Soviet Union responds. Chapter 4. The Soviet counterattack. Soviet early warning systems detect incoming missiles. The Soviet leadership has only minutes to decide. Premier Khrushchev gives the order: launch everything. Hundreds of Soviet intercontinental ballistic missiles roar into the sky. Their targets are American cities: New York City, Washington, D.C., Los Angeles, Chicago. At the same time, Soviet missiles stationed in Eastern Europe strike NATO bases. Missiles fly toward United Kingdom, France, West Germany. World War III has begun. Chapter 5. The first hour within 30 minutes, nuclear warheads begin detonating. A blinding flash engulfs New York. The fireball reaches temperatures hotter than the surface of the sun. Buildings vaporize instantly. Millions die in seconds. Moments later, another explosion destroys Washington. The government of the United States disappears in an instant. Across the Atlantic, Moscow suffers the same fate. The Kremlin vanishes in a storm of fire. The modern world begins to collapse. Chapter 6. Europe in flames. Europe becomes the most heavily targeted region. Both NATO and Warsaw Pact forces possess nuclear weapons. Missiles rain down on London, Paris, Berlin. Entire capitals disappear within minutes. Military bases across Europe are destroyed. The continent that started 2 world wars now becomes the epicenter of the third and final one. Chapter 7. China enters the war. The chaos spreads. Leaders in China fear that they could be the next target. Chairman Mao Zedong orders Chinese nuclear forces to prepare for launch. Regional wars erupt across Asia. Missiles begin flying between rival nations. The nuclear conflict spreads far beyond the original superpowers. Chapter 8. Civilization collapses within hours. Hundreds of nuclear weapons detonate across the planet. Major industrial centers vanish. Communication networks collapse. Governments disappear. The global economy stops instantly. Hospitals are destroyed. Food distribution systems collapse. Billions of people are suddenly cut off from electricity, water, and transportation. But the worst consequences are still coming. Chapter 9, Nuclear Winter. The explosions ignite massive firestorms. Entire cities burn for days. These fires release enormous clouds of smoke into the atmosphere. Scientists believe this would trigger a phenomenon known as nuclear winter. The smoke blocks sunlight. Temperatures around the world plummet. Crops fail across the planet. Global famine begins. Even countries untouched by nuclear explosions begin to suffer mass starvation. Chapter 10. The last survivors within months. Billions of people are dead. Radiation spreads across continents. The survivors struggle to find food, water, and shelter. Many live underground to avoid radioactive fallout. Cities become silent ruins. Civilization, as humanity once knew it, is gone. Chapter 11. A different world decades later. The world would look unrecognizable. Entire regions would remain radioactive. Global populations might shrink dramatically. Human society could return to a pre-industrial level. Future generations would remember the Cold War as the moment humanity nearly destroyed itself. Conclusion. The war that never happened. The terrifying truth is that this scenario was never impossible. Throughout the Cold War, both the United States and the Soviet Union maintained thousands of nuclear weapons ready to launch within minutes. Several times, technical errors nearly triggered accidental war. Human civilization survived largely because of cautious decisions, lucky coincidences, and individuals who refused to push the button. The Cold War ended peacefully in 1991. But for decades, humanity stood closer to